Welcome to your Church Without Walls podcast service. Our apologies if you had problems with receiving last week's podcast. This was due to an internet problem from where it was sent. Hopefully, normal service has now been resumed. We will, however, in a few weeks' time, be taking a week off for the podcast that would normally come out on the Sunday, the 12th of September. We thank Revd Hugh Wright for his insight into his favourite song, his talk about his journey, and calling into the ministry. Our first song has been chosen by Tony Malden from Ventnor, Isle of Wight, here in England. And he says, "I have chosen Majesty, Worship His Majesty, because it is such a powerful song. When we sing it, you feel everyone praising His Majesty."
The reading is from the New Testament, 1 John chapter 3 verses 1 to 3. See what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God. And this is what we are. The reason that the world does not know us is that it did not know Him. Dear friends, now we are children of God, and what will be has not yet been made known. But we know that when Christ appears, we shall be like Him, for we shall see Him as He is. All who have this hope in Him purify themselves, just as He is pure.
I'm joined by Revd Hugh Wright, who has done so many of our podcast talks. In fact, he's probably done more than anybody, I think, over the last 18 months. Would you be able to tell us just a little bit about yourself and maybe how you got into the ministry?
I felt called to the ministry on a couple of occasions, really. I went to university and I went actually to study what I was good at school, and that was languages. But during my time I was there, I got more involved in Christian things, and I decided after a year to change course to theology. I think that was part of my vocation, because immediately that shut off one career path and put in another career path. I did it because I liked the subject and wanted to find out more about it, the Bible and Christian tradition, and I found it very interesting. At the end of my time at university, I went to the church selectors to see if I should train to be a Church of England priest, a minister, but they actually told me then that I should do something else. I was a bit too young and I should get some more experience of the world. So I did, and decided to be a teacher, which is really my family calling. My father was a teacher, and all of my siblings, we've all been teachers at some time. And I went to be a teacher of religious education in Cheltenham, where I actually met my wife. And I did enjoy teaching, although it's always tough starting, especially in secondary teaching. During that time, I got the distinct impression that though I loved teaching, I didn't want to do this for the rest of my life. And I felt the Lord was calling me to more than that. I wasn't quite sure what it was at the time. So I went to see a few people and to talk about this, and came to the conclusion that really I should have another go at the church's selection process. So that was back in '85, and I went again to this conference, and this time I was selected. And I feel I've been called by God to serve his people as a priest in the Church of England within parishes, that is, communities. So that's what I did. That was back in 1987, and then in the church, you do at least one assistantship called a curacy, and that was in the suburbs of Birmingham. And then I did another one in the suburbs of London. But then there came a point in 1992 when I thought, well, it's time for me to look for my own parish and to see what openings there were. And I just looked in the church newspapers where they do advertise vicar's jobs, surprisingly. And I found this one in Ryde. They just seemed to frame the advert just the way it appealed to me. I very much felt, well, if this was right, if God wanted me to do this, then I would go forward. And it did seem to be right. So we came to the island in 1992 with 2 young children. And I was in a parish in Ryde called St. John's for 20 years, whilst the children were growing up and my wife working as a nurse. Came to the conclusion 8 years ago that I didn't really want to be there for the rest of my ministry, and so I looked around, and I looked all over the country. Actually, it's funny how sometimes the thing is on your doorstep that you're looking for, and so I came here at Ventnor, that is, and Bond Church in 2013.
You've been here ever since?
Been there ever since. So very different, with 3 different churches with 3 rather different styles. But now this is something completely new. So, the whole COVID time has presented all kinds of new challenges. And so, I've very much enjoyed actually doing the podcast.
The word calling, when I talk to people, they say, is it a light? Is it a bolt from the blue? Or is it like road to Damascus moment? How does calling happen? Is it that God just keeps closing doors until there's only one left open?
Well, clearly he had closed the door for me when it came to doing something with languages. And I found out at university, I did actually feel a strong sense of presence of the Spirit in the room I was at the moment. And I do remember that. It does seem strange, but I really did feel called to change course in a very clear way, so much so that when people tried to persuade me out of it, and quite a few people did, and I nearly did go along with that, it just kept coming back. So I think it's something that keeps coming back, and that's what I found in those sort of 5 or 6 years. I kept dismissing it, but it kept coming back. So I think if it's a real call, it will keep coming back. If you tell that to some people, they think you're going a bit mad, really. You've got to have that strong sense within you. So I think it's a nagging maybe not the best word, but it's a persistent voice, feeling that keeps coming back to you.
In carrying on with that theme, our next song has been chosen by Laurie Parsons from Wroxall, Isle of Wight. And Laurie says, the song I the Lord of Sea and Sky holds memories of my confirmation at Portsmouth Cathedral. When we came out into the grounds for photographs, there was a rainbow, very special. know that music in your life, having seen you play your guitar at the guitar clubs and other instruments, and I know that music is really important to you. And I've asked lots of people their favourite songs, and I know how difficult it is to pick just one. But,
Yeah, it has been very difficult for me, I have to say.
Yeah, so what would your, maybe not favourite, but the one that you would like to talk about?
I think that's the way I put it. The one I'd like to choose is a short song by a Scottish composer called John Bell, called Take, Oh Take Me As I Am. Now, John Bell is a very interesting chap, and I got to know him back in the early 90s. He was speaking at a conference on the Isle of Wight in 1993 called Cosmos 93, and they asked me and Sarah, my wife, to put him up in our vicarage. And he's a very lovely person, and not someone you forget in a hurry. He's very Scottish, had quite a big beard and long hair. My young children, one of them described him, called him Womble, a very lovely turn of phrase, but he is a very deep thinker. He's also a minister of the Church of Scotland, as well as a songwriter. What I love about this hymn, the words are, "Take, oh, take me as I am, summon out what I shall be, set your seal upon my heart and live in me." And that's all there is to it. And it's sung maybe 3 or 4 times until it kind of goes deep down inside you. 2 things about this which are important to me. The prayer in this song asks God, we speak to God and we say, take, oh, take me as I am. We come to God as we are, with all our distinctive qualities and faults and the things that drive others mad as well as ourselves sometimes. But God has called us as we are. But then it says, summon out what I shall be. In other words, what you see now is not necessarily what you can be with the grace and help of God. And so that's why the second part is also important. Summon out what I shall be. Look for something deep within me that I may not be aware of at the time, but will come out over time, maybe through circumstance. The prayer is for God to make me the person God wants me to be. I think it may well be based upon a passage from the New Testament, from the first letter of John, chapter 3, where John writes, "Beloved, now we are children of God, and it doesn't yet appear what we shall be, but when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is." It's an adventure, if you like. Life is an adventure with God, finding out what is inside us. He takes our raw material, take, oh, take me as I am, and makes something out of it, summon out what I shall be. So that's my choice. Hugh. And I love the music as well.
Oh, thank you very much, Hugh.
Take, oh, take me
Now let us join together in the words of the prayer that Jesus taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you for being with us once again this week. Please do continue to share this podcast with your friends and family. We so appreciate it, and we pray that whatever you are doing and wherever you are, you'll have a safe, blessed and peaceful week.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine on you. The Lord bless you and keep you, and give you his peace. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine on you. The Lord bless you and keep you, and give you his peace, and give you his peace.